All right, so for creatives, new creatives, or people like me, they're kind of in the middle ground in between being new and a little bit of experience. I want to make the distinction between being an employee and being an independent contractor. So let's just start right off the bat by saying that if you consider yourself to be a freelancer or self-employed, you're an independent contractor, period, and you're not anyone's employee. And basically, what that means is that you are a business. You pay for your own internet, you pay for your own phone bill, you pay for your own travel, you pay for your own food. Um, you can't, you know, legally you can't even have the company like send you to conferences or pay for anything except work on a per project basis. And that is the clear distinction that you are an independent contractor. So there's a couple other things that I've learned, and I would really say that one thing that's really important is, as freelancers and creatives and designers and developers, it's very important that we talk to our friends and people that we know. You need to kind of build yourself like some advisors around you that can give you advice on this type of stuff, because in the current you know in the current client that I have now, right? I pretty much explained like how things were going at work, to basically a guy that's become like my mentor, really. Like he's like my guardian angel. If I tell him something, he tells me straight up whether it's good or bad for me. And so far he's batting like 3 out of 3. You know what I'm saying? Anything that I've brought up to him, um, he's pretty much functioned as like my fiduciary almost. He tells me straight away what to be cautious of, what to look out for, what to do and what not to do. So, and he wasn't the only person that I got this, that I consulted. I asked a bunch of people. I asked people that freelance professionally. I asked him. I asked people in other fields that do other things, and I was pretty much advised to either nip this relationship in the bud very early on, or to be extremely cautious as I move forward. And you know, uh, even though I'm a developer now, I'm still a creative, right? So I do still have like this kind of attachment to the work. Like when there is work to be done and it's affecting real people, uh, I kind of block everything out for a little while until those things get handled, if that makes sense, which is a really bad habit. So I would encourage you to not, what I'm saying, don't do that. Um, but anyways, there are a lot of clear distinctions, um, and most designers that have been formally educated, most of them seem to come out of the gate knowing these things. Like when you're working as an independent contractor, whoever your client ends up being is not supposed to buy equipment for you. You're always supposed to invoice them for the work that you're doing, for example. So if you're not using Wave apps or QuickBooks or anything like that, then you may be acting like an employee, even though you're an independent contractor. And that has implications for both you and whoever you're working with. So it's not just a one-way street where, only your client will get in trouble for doing these things. You can get in trouble for doing these things because you may not be withholding the taxes you're supposed to be withholding, or, you may come to find out that they get knocked for misclassifying you as a worker anyways, and now you're owed back wages and all of this stuff that you could really care less about, but there's still implications there. So in my case, the work relationship was fine when I was putting in 30-40 hour weeks. There's always a little bit of ramp up time when you start working with a new client, as you get like used to how things work. Me, for example, like I was going into the office. I do have a desk there. I do have like pictures and shit around my desk. But again, I was advised early on like how to behave like a contractor and how not to behave like an employee. So if I wanted to take a 2 hour lunch break or a 3 hour lunch break or cut out of work early, like I do those things because I'm not an employee and I'm not on a time clock. Um, and ironically, even though I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing and sending invoices, I was still being paid almost like strictly on a per project basis. So, for example, like the work relationship has been like almost 6 months so far, and each month, you know, almost directly correlates with a website that I was working on and completing. Um, it wasn't until the work started to dry up, so to speak, that uh, I guess I guess the client wanted me to be like more of an employee. And the other thing is that like I'm actively looking for and applying to developer jobs right now. So I guess that uh, seem to be like misleading. But again, like I said, I was told to very cautiously navigate like this relationship from the beginning. So I think ultimately, you'll always run into clients that wish you could be their employee, that wish you could stay on their team forever, so to speak. And as a freelancer and an independent contractor, you're a business. You know what I mean? You can't dedicate like all of your time to one client or one business or one aspect of your business. You have other things to do. You have, family time, you need me time. In my case, like I'm constantly networking and going out to meetups. That's the only reason that like, you know, I learned this 6 months in instead of 2 or 3 years in. So it's really important that you taper those expectations correctly. I would say like at the beginning of the relationship, but I think in my case it was a unique predicament because I initially started with an internship, and out of nowhere, I just got hired, which I really wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting any money, and I really wasn't asking for any money out of this. I just wanted to, you know, dip my toes in and kind of stay active while I was in between like jobs and in between, kind of taking a break from the developer job hunt to just give myself like a little breather. Like we had just moved, there was a lot of personal things going on, and sorry, I came across the job like on a whim, reached out, asked to do an internship. They obliged, came in, and basically like with my skill set and the way that like I can adapt and be versatile and not get frustrated by things. That led my client to kind of clean house, and I became like the sole designer developer like on staff, which is a really bad idea for agencies in general. But again, I'm not there on a consultant basis. I'm there kind of just project by project doing work. um, and where things started to get tricky, I guess, from their perspective, is that the amount of time that I was spending in the office started to dip as the holiday season came around. And it also started to dip like when I didn't need to be there anymore. Like one of the reasons that I wanted to be a freelancer and work remotely was because, like, you really don't need 8 hours a day to get a majority of people's work done. Like, and I would be working 8 hour days, 5 days a week if I had multiple clients that were operating at this level. But for just one agency, for the volume of work that's coming in and the type of pipeline that they have, it's just there was a lot of work that was front loaded in the first few months, and then after that, the amount of time and the commitment that I needed to have to properly do things, it just naturally dipped. Um, and that's an issue that you'll run into as a freelancer, because people constantly want to know, what are you doing? And the answer is, unless it's related to a project, really nothing. I'm not that's like my relationship totally revolves around the workload. It doesn't revolve around the company's politics or anything else that the company has going on. And that's a really important distinction that you have to make, because you have to remember, you're a business, you're withholding taxes on yourself, and you have to pay your own taxes quarterly. So again, the future has a great video that's titled, you're not a freelancer, you're a business. So you kind of have to behave that way. And I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning that lesson. But yeah, if you work as a freelancer, independent contractor, and your work doesn't relate around a project by project basis, and you're not sending invoices, then you are probably not working as an independent contractor, and you're being misclassified as an independent contractor, even though you're really an employee of that company. And whether you want bad things to happen or not, eventually those bad things will happen, because at any time, any company, any especially a small company, can be audited, and those work relationships are part of that. And if you haven't been sending invoices, if you have a desk in the office, if you work regular hours, like you're expected to be in the office at a certain amount of time, right off the bat, it's like undisputable legally. So you could get in a lot of trouble. The company could get in a lot of trouble, and that's really why I'm making this video, is so that you can prevent these things and stay on top of these things. Because if someone wants you to be an employee, you have to tell them, hire me as an employee and I can behave like an employee. But if you hire me as an independent contractor, legally, I'm bound to behave like an independent contractor, or it can have huge implications for us and the relationship that we have. So these things are super important. If you've ever been through stuff like this, I totally empathize and relate. And that's pretty much, all I wanted to talk about, because it's really been like heavy on my mind recently, which is like, I work with multiple clients. I don't know why I tried to make this relationship any different. I think, the volume of work initially was front loaded so heavy that I just had like a heavy investment in seeing this client's business like succeed and pretty much like get ahead of the workload that they were falling behind on. So that's just how I am. I'm empathetic like that. I empathize with people. I work with the people around me. I'm not stubborn in how I get work done or who I get it done with. So all of those things were at play. But I'm still a business. I still have to pay for my own internet, my own phone bill. You know what I'm saying? Still gotta foot the bill for my own travel when I'm going out to these meetups and networking, or if I want to go to a conference or something. So I'm not an employee. I can't behave like an employee, and I can't let a company treat me like an employee, because I'm really not. And I know for a fact a lot of creatives will find themselves in a situation like this. So if you get a job and it's a contract to hire position, that is totally different from being an independent contractor. In that case, the company is like, giving you a test run to whet your appetite to see how it works out. Um, but if you come out the gate as an independent contractor, you definitely need to read up and know how to manage and leverage and evaluate those relationships. And the moment that things start to surpass, you know, being just about projects and the work that you're doing, then, those are the red flags to pay attention to. So, yeah, you have any more questions about this, let me know. I can send you a bunch of videos and stuff that I've watched and learned. I know it's tough because a lot of people feel like, if you tell your client no, you might be jeopardizing your money, but you have to be like, you have to have like some integrity in situations like these, right? Like you have to realize that you don't want to break the law for a paycheck. Otherwise, there's totally different lines of work that you could get into that I won't discuss in this video. But yeah, you want to stay within the bounds of the law, most definitely. And we're already 14 minutes in, so I'm gonna cut this video here. I'm gonna finish drinking my coffee, and I got some code to get back to. I will see y'all later.